Hello, it's me again. Uh, yeah, I'm just talking about these games. Metroid did Rechain of Memories, even though I completed Borderlands later. Um, again, I decided to do it in 21 game chunks because it's gonna end up being probably a little over 210. It would have been like exactly 210. Uh, but since I recorded the last one, they announced Bloodstained the Scarlet Engagement, which will make it 211. Or if Kingdom Hearts 4 comes out, 212. But they also canceled Kingdom Hearts Missing Link, which would have made it 213, but oh well. But first, Metroid. I was surprised by how much I generally enjoyed Metroid. One, I'd played it a little bit before. But, it ends up with the movement being good for an NES game. It feels pretty solid to control most of the time. Of course, not being able to aim down or like crouch. It sucks, but the game's usually designed pretty okay around that. It actually already has a pretty good sense of exploration, even though it's kind of tedious to walk through giant hallways, but especially huge, samey shafts. The final boss is pretty whack though. Like it was pretty unreasonable, I would say. Mother Brain is in this game. In the end, I think it goes right here. It's a B minus. It's still better than the Castlevania games I'd played so far. Because, I basically didn't die outside of Mother Brain, for the most part. So it's not nearly as frustrating. Let's see, what? Half-Life Blue Shift. So this... the puzzles in this game are really good. I think that was what they were kind of focusing on. A good chunk of was, doing, like, more involved puzzles. But, oh. Now I'm really stealing Vinny's vibe. I think another thing they focused on was the upped level of NPC interaction compared to Half-Life. Because, like, obviously Half-Life is known for the NPCs moving independently of you for cutscenes and required engagements and stuff. But, like, the latter half of this game is based entirely around escorting and interacting with a particular character. Which was cool. That said, it was really easy, which is not a bad thing. Opposing force was terribly frustrating sometimes, but it was like really short. A like 2.5 hours. Which is crazy. I think, honestly, just the shortness of it made it less interesting. Which is why I'm putting it below Opposing Force. In the Half-Life expansion tier, that is A-. Oh, damn it. Forgot. Wanted to do it that way. Marvel Ultimate Alliance. This is on my favorite games of all time list. It's number 42 of 43. Kind of a 48. And the fact that I say it's on my all-time favorite list is going to get funnier and funnier as I continue to put games above it. But I think it's basically just X-Men Legends 1 and 2 if they were better. In most ways. Sure, everybody has less, like, abilities. Total. But, the moment-to-moment gameplay, the enemies, and the abilities themselves were more interesting. I think. I just had generally more fun playing it. I came up with I managed to make a broken build a third time, entirely based around just spamming Spider-Woman's Venom Blast. But I loved that the ending sequence, like, triple whammied me with super cool sequences, giving me like a Bethesda Fallout style series of ending slides based around the decisions I made in side quests was cool. Then the blooper reel with the dialogue at the end, specifically name dropping having a cameo by Chris Zimmerman, the voice director. It was fun. And then immediately after that, I had already been drawing comparisons to Chris Zimmerman doing Metal Gear Solid voice direction, and they did like almost a parody of the Metal Gear Solid phone call endings with Weasel and Black Widow. Yeah, that was awesome. That said, it was kind of weird. The Black Widow plotline, Black Widow traitor plotline, kind of went nowhere. I mean, obviously, it's in that post-credit scene, but, you know, this game didn't get a real direct sequel. Either way, I put that game. Oops. Oh, I didn't think this through. I have plus and minus in my buttons for this. Oh well. I put it in A+. Now, to have this many tiers like this, and to put one of my quote-unquote favorite games of all time in A+, is pretty funny. But, you know, it's pretty good. I enjoyed it the whole time. It wasn't like... It's not truly that standout to me. I think a lot of why I consider it a favorite game is because it's just a lot of references to stuff, which is great for me. But it was my introduction to many of those things. Like, I didn't know about the Marvel character Thor. Before this, I had barely heard of Ghost Rider. I didn't know Blade was a Marvel character. I'd heard of the movies. my introduction to Spider-Woman and Carol Danvers. Silver Surfer. Okay. I forgot there was laughing in this song. Let's talk about Fallout Tactics. So here's the thing. I'm going to skip straight to this. Fallout Tactics. Oops. See what I did? Fallout Tactics is going in its own tier, labeled. Wow, can't type. DNF. Oh god, I still can't type. Delete the whole video. DNF. Derogatory. The innovations to Fallout 2 combat stuff, like the crouching and prone stances and all that, are cool. That's neat. And the stealth mechanics therein. It probably would have stopped being hard pretty soon after I stopped, but it would... I don't really see there being a solution to me feeling it was too slow. Because it would have been harder if I put it on active. The enemies in it are smart, like they play smart. They go and hide behind cover, which just makes for annoying gameplay. Kind of. I think it's just not for me. In general. It's kind of just... What if we took Fallout 1 and 2 and took out much of the like dialogue type role-playing game stuff and made it more just the combat of Fallout 1 and 2, slightly upgraded, which was not my favorite part of those games. Nearly. So yeah, I didn't finish it because I didn't like it. But I'm not gonna say that. I say DNF derogatory, but it's like, I'm not gonna say it's like an F tier game. I just don't like tactics games. And I knew that going in. Zola 2. Rewind was crucial for me enjoying this game. And I think I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much if I weren't reading a guide as well, because it has some of those classic NES game puzzles that are totally obtuse and I can't remember what word I'm thinking of. Not obscure. Opaque. That I would never have been able to figure out without reading a guide. That said, when I'm reading a guide and I just know where to go, and all I have to focus on is hitting the enemies, staying alive, the combat is very fun once I get the hang of how to fight Iron Knuckles. It feels very good to control and like actually make use of the momentum you carry with your jumping and running. That said, I say that. Still a B minus, but here's my controversial take. And remember, this is based not on my summation of the video game, but on the experience I had playing it in this recording playthrough. And that's that I liked playing it more than I liked playing Zelda 1. It, like I said, it had most of the same problems, but the combat was just more interesting to me. That's really the gist of that. Okay. Dark Souls. What can I even... The game's good. Dark Souls is really good, basically. I love it. It's one of my favorite games of all time. But, like, actually up there. There are some bad bosses in this game. Like Bed of Chaos. Even Moonlight Butterfly. Gwendolyn is kind of whack. A little. But most of the bosses are good. Or amazing. Even the areas that I think are kind of mid. Gameplay-wise. Have, like, incredible visual design. Which is just true of most of the game. I love the way that you can see so many other parts of the map from each location. Something that somehow continually surprises me about FromSoft games is how good the characters are. Like their dramatic quests and arcs. The Sigmund and Sigmire quest is incredible. In this game in particular, the map design of, like, eventually wrapping all the way back around to Firelink Shrine through Ended Parish. Darkroot Basin and Valley of Drakes acting as, like, an in-between for a huge chunk of the areas. It's peak, is what it is. Which is why it gets S+. It's definitely an S+ game to me. Truly one of the greatest. Which is so funny to say. It'll be really funny to hear me say that when I discuss how I feel about basically every other FromSoft game made later. But very good. That said, Dark Souls 2. The sprint lockout thing, where if you have emptied your stamina, you cannot sprint until your stamina has refilled plus like 30 frames. Annoying as hell. Like, really annoying. I think healing is too slow with the flask, even when you have, like, a really good agility. And not having any iframes on fog walls is, like, why? It's awful. It's only awful in, like, 3 different spots in the game specifically, but it's awful. Also, I get that this video is just like all the different variations of the song in the game, but why is it so long? All that said, though, Well, no, I'm still in the negatives. It has some of the worst areas FromSoft has ever devised in their life. The Frozen Outskirts, and even Iron Passage and Cave of the Dead are bad, but the Frozen Outskirts are awful. Truly, even in multiplayer, that seems like the worst thing I've ever conceived of. Shrine of Amana is not good. I think the first areas in the game are kind of just a lot of enemy spam. However, it also has some of the coolest areas FromSoft has ever made. Oh, right after I comment on how long the video is, it ends. Shrine of Amana visually. Cool area. I think, also ironically, with Frozen Outskirts, Frozen Ilium Lois is one of my favorite areas I think FromSoft has ever made. It's so cool. It itself is like a microcosm of Dark Souls maps. The way you have a somewhat linear section leading up to when you meet, I forget her name, the daughter of Void or whatever. And then you just have a few ways you can go at your own discretion to getting each of the knights, or you can just go straight to fighting Burnt Ivory King, which, by the way, Burnt Ivory King, one of the most incredible set pieces they've done. And even without the DLC, the game has a ridiculous amount of content. Like an unimaginable amount of content. 41 bosses is crazy. It's like double the length of the other games. And that's why, truly, I think it goes up here. I think I like it more than Infamous 2. All those negatives are what put it into minus. It's still an S-style game. It's generally very good. Just more frustrating than the other Dark Souls games. Spider-Man. The first Spider-Man game I have in here. Because I have most of the time I was pretty all-inclusive with what I counted being part of the series of games. Spider-Man, because Marvel's Spider-Man 2018 is the one that's on this list as one of my favorites. What I sort of considered the lead-up to that to be the Spider-Man 2 movie game. And I decided I couldn't have that, of course, without Spider-Man 1, the movie, the game. But I couldn't have that without this game and its sequel. Because I think the Spider-Man 1 movie game took a lot of inspiration from this, with the web swinging and the way the combat is. But in this game, the camera sucks. It's bad, and the combat is a little iffy. But the levels are kind of designed well around it. The camera, that is. The different references to Marvel characters and costumes are great. I love just random cameos by the Punisher and the Human Torch and Daredevil. The Stan Lee narration, impeccable as always. Adds a ton. But also it's really short. was surprised by that. It felt way longer as a kid. It's only like 3 hours long. That said, it's still pretty good, despite all the camera and combat stuff. Which is why, first of all, I'm making a B+. Here. But, also, I'm moving Demon Souls up to B+. I realize there's a pretty significant difference between how I feel about Demon Souls and how I felt about Fallout 2 and 1. That it's got a lot going for it. Enough, at least. Infamous Festival of Blood. When I first made the list of games, I didn't know this was a standalone DLC. So I didn't have it on there. But playing it was hell to get to, because card issues and stuff were making it so I couldn't buy PS Plus to stream it, which is already annoying. So I had to emulate it, and emulating it barely worked. But in the end, I got to play it, and it's short. Positive. Parenthesis, positive. It, if I had owned this growing up, I'd have just turned it on and 100%ed it whenever. Every few nights. Because it's just as fun to 100% as Infamous 2. But they make it quick and convenient. With the way that you unlock the ability to see the jars on your mini-map as you're doing the flying, and the jars refill your meter so you can just fly straight to the next one. It takes like 7 minutes. Yeah. It's just neat. And I ended up liking it a lot, despite the audio issues. Hold on, let me actually check my thing. I think I put it in. I have to back out like several folders and then back into separate folders on my phone. I wish I could open 2 tabs in the Notes app. Yeah, I put it way up in A, right between Unreal and X-Men Legends 2. And that's mostly just on it being short and relatively devoid of plot. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. The inclusion of Festival of Blood and where it randomly ended up on the list took away what would have been a kind of funny bit, which would be playing Spider-Man for PS1 and then immediately playing this game that features Spider-Man from PS1, because they're made by the same developer. And that's all that this game is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1, but with Spider-Man, and manually. Which, you know, okay. I feel like the levels in this game were maybe worse than the first games. I didn't care about them as much. Or something. Also, by the way, I just noticed that's wrong. Because I just put it right here. It's basically like wherever Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is going, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 is going right there, slightly above it. It's not moving much. I don't really have much to say about this game. It was fine. But Kingdom Hearts. Ooh, doggy. First of all, the camera is whack in this game, even in Final Mix. I do not care for it. It annoyed me, for sure. But overall, I like this game even more than I remembered liking it. Super, super solidly enjoyed every part of it but Atlantica. Which was just sort of annoying. Not really that bad. But so one thing I'm kind of surprised by is how much I enjoyed farming for synthesis materials. Not a lot of other games I've played so far that I would have played for 4.5 hours off recording to farm. But it's something I realized is just like Minecraft and Bloodstained for me. I love gathering up a ton of materials to do a bunch of chained crafting into one mega item at the end. That just, ooh. Ooh. Love it. Yeah. I love the gameplay. The action gameplay is good, even in this game, where it's less refined than the later ones, kinda. Or it's refined in a different way. The plot and the characters are good. As much as the Kingdom Hearts games are dominated by Disney stuff that's, you know, kinda whatever. The main plot stuff is always, every time I replay them, it's more compelling than I remember it being. And that's why I think this game goes way up at the top of S-, which I did not expect. I would not have told you I was going to put this above, like, in the vicinity of my favorite games of all time. I thought I liked Kingdom Hearts 1 noticeably less than the later games. But it's just good. It's just still good. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. Now this game, it being a PlayStation 2 game, so they don't have fog on the map, and it runs at a higher FPS, actually meant a lot. It meant more than I expected it to. And seemingly just the addition of revert and special manuals made the score goals so much easier to achieve, and it made the game so much more fun for me. Of course, when I say so much more fun, I just mean that it went to the top of the same tier. But that's above Fallout 2. I think I would say that it deserves to be up there. I think I enjoyed it on average more than Fallout 2, which is sad. But Fallout 2 is very good, but I had a lot of boring or negative for me. Okay. Now, Metroid 2 is probably the biggest surprise I've had so far. It's so good. It reminded me of the second biggest surprise I've had so far, which is Devil May Cry 1. That I expected it to be, it's an early game, but instead was a solid foundation for the entire rest of the series. It feels so much like Super Metroid in most ways, except for the jump physics and all the neat little tricks. But it has the aiming up and down, crouching. I guess you can't morph ball in the air. but yeah, the whole game felt good to play. Like, very good to play. Which I just didn't expect. And the spider ball is a very neat design element for an exploration-based game like this. Minor negative. Really one of the only negatives I could really think of was that one room that gets you an energy tank and a missile tank at the end. That's just completely pitch black. Total ass. Garbage. I may never do it again. I would never want to do it again. That said, I expected Metroid 2 to be probably like right here. Or maybe, you know, somewhere up in B tier like this or something. Instead, I'm putting it way up above Devil May Cry. Because it's just the first good Metroid game. The first in the formula of incredible Metroid games that I love so much. Yeah, I was very surprised. And then I immediately played Super Metroid, and I got to compare the blueprint to the refined. It's one of the greatest games of all time. Truly. This is probably the first game I ever played. Or maybe not the first I ever played, but it's the first one I remember playing. The map design is incredible. I've replayed this game probably like 8 times. And there are still moments that when I see them again, where the map loops back around, I'm like, what? I can't believe that just goes right there. Getting out of Lorne Warfare back into regular Warfare, oh my god. So many of the items are like just feel good. The speed booster is impeccable. The plasma beam, the charge beam, power bombs, just so many incredible additions. The amount of techniques this game has that aren't like unintentional, that are fully built in, is a blueprint every game with movement should follow. The wall jumping, shine spark, the fact that when you spin attack with a charge beam, it makes you like a pseudo screw attack. If you go into morph ball with the charge beam, it lays 5 bombs. If you have bombs equipped. That's not even to speak of having the power bomb equipped and charging a single beam, doing unique attacks for every beam. The crystal flash. There's so much to like uncover with what Samus is capable of. Man. Oh, the damage boosting thing that's like fully built in. It's crazy to me. And that sense of so many things that you can do is, I think, probably should be the most influential thing this game ever did. That said, the music is incredible. And the bosses, incredible. The bosses are actually very good. I can't really sing its praises enough. I think that Amazingly, not only is it going up to S tier, I think it's going up with Slay the Spire. I think it's in my top. It's probably going to end up in my top 20 games of all time at the end of this, which I knew. The only reason it's not in the list numbered is because I was a coward and didn't want to put Super Metroid and other. I didn't want to put 3 of any series in the list for some reason. But it's up there. For sure. This looks right. It feels right to me. Fallout Brotherhood of Steel. This game is a little whack. The camera is nausea-inducing. I don't know what they were thinking with that angle of, like, not top down, but only tilted back like 5 degrees. Awful. The combat was uninteresting. There were a lot of different weapon types, kind of, with different feels, but it always boiled down to just either holding or mashing the X button while locked on. The bosses were all mid at best, but far worse when you couldn't lock onto them, and it was just a slog. I don't feel like I ever came close to dying to enemies unless I was caught completely off guard. But there was just barely enough Fallout stuff in it for me to say I enjoyed it all the way through, because it was just tedious. Never really bad. Well, never really good, though. Either. Where did I put it? It's in B. Yeah. I'm putting it right. Here. Fits to me. Liked it more than Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. Yeah. I'd say I generally enjoyed myself playing it. The dialogue was hilarious. The way it's just so angry and standoffish to everybody. But less than Soul Blade, because that's just a fine fighting game. And I like fighting games. But it's not going to enter the annals of good. That's for sure. But Metroid Prime. Okay. Here's the thing. Super Metroid, one of the first games I ever played, highly influential. I think it's amazing. Metroid Prime is one of the first games I fell in love with. It's my number 4 favorite game of all time. The environments in this game are great. Like the visual design, not just of the areas feeling distinct as a whole, but so many of the individual rooms look amazing. The enemies are really cool and varied in this game. The music consistently is incredible. One of my favorite game soundtracks ever. The scan visor, I think if you asked me to name my favorite feature in a video game, it might be up there. Just such a great way to teach you boss and enemy mechanics, make you pay attention to the environment, to kind of tell you what you need to do, give hints, all while feeling immersed in the world and in Samus's place in it at the moment. And also just constant, neat, little lore bits and science facts kind of about structures and the creatures, the history of the planet and its people. The map design, the pacing of like the elevators access, even if it's like a bunch of cut off areas accessed by elevators, it's still woven so well. Coming back to Talon Overworld to get the space jump boots just over the top of the landing site the first time is so sick. And similarly, I love how there are so many rooms in the game. There are several ways to interact with the room using items you get later. And not just like boost ball ramps placed in rooms or whatever. Grapple beam hooks placed in earlier rooms just to get through them faster. But I'm thinking like using the plasma beam and ice beam on stuff. Designing things such that you can morph ball your way through things. The ruined shrine, I think, is the thing I'm always thinking of. The ruined shrine and not the Triclops pit. That's the really big one. There's the room in Magmore Caverns where you walk in and there's like a metal grate and a metal grate wall blocking off the other half of the room, and you have to go underneath the metal grate with some Triclops so you can kill with morph ball bombs. But both of those rooms, the Magmore Caverns one, you have to go into the morph ball and go through the little trial of Triclops. And the ruined shrine, once you get in, first of all, there's the boost ball. Then you have to climb over with the spider ball to get to the Tower of Light. But you have to morph ball out. Both of them, space jump makes getting through them faster. You can just double jump back over the edge of the ruined shrine. The Triclops room, you can just double jump over the metal grate. They make it so that getting power-ups doesn't just unlock new pathways, but streamlines traversing every previous room in slightly unique ways every time. And it makes, me personally, it makes retraversing the game and backtracking so enjoyable instead of like a tedious thing. I think this game goes in double S. Truly, when I say like, oh, Ultimate Alliance is one of my favorite games of all time, and then it's all the way down here, you know, it was influential on me, and it's good. This is one of my favorite games of all time. Truly, I probably didn't even sound this excited about it while I played it. But just talking about it, I'm like, oh my god. This double S tier will probably be reserved for like the top 10 actual games, I think. Infamous Second Son. The movement is good. The movement is very good, even compared to the first two games. The variety in gameplay of the different powers is really sick. I like how neon with the glowing parts on the opponents gives you a way, it lets you end the subduing people after headshotting them with smoke. All that makes good karma playthroughs interactive in a more interesting way, instead of just, you know, going through and headshotting everybody until they are down. But just don't try not to hit civilians. Or down people. Although I will say, in terms of movement being more interesting, the fact that you get concrete and all of the guys are jumping around on pillars the whole time, and they didn't let you just do ice launch again, but with concrete. Criminal. I think Reggie was an interesting character. I think it was neat for them to include, growing up, I thought it was neat for them to include, oh, he's, like, racist and has to overcome that. Although, fantasy racism, where the people they're racist against actually are stronger and have superpowers and are thus verifiably more dangerous, even though that's not how it works for people who face racism in real life. You know, beside the point. Now, playing it as an older person than I was, it's also interesting because they're doing that from the perspective of like a cop. And having a cop character who is in the end a good guy, the way they did it, I think, was interesting. The fact that they almost never actually agree, and that Reggie only sort of, but not really, comes around, was interesting to me. Besides Reggie, the characters are a little weak. I don't feel a lot about Fetch or Eugene. I don't really feel a lot about Delson. Augustine is given like a neat motive, which, by the way, that boss fight is kind of bad. The second one, the big creature boss fight, is kind of bad. The first one's good. But immediately after they give her that neat motive, the ending, the good karma ending at least, kind of whack. Delson exposes her and exposes all of the killing a couple civilians and locking up conduits without due process for life and all that. And despite every single thing, she gives this whole motivation and is like, look, people won't change, they'll see us as monsters. And I expected them to confront that in some way, and instead he exposes her, and it's like, and then everybody got along forever. She was just totally wrong. Not at all nuanced. And really rushed. It felt kind of... reminded me in a negative way of the ending of Beastars. But, yeah. It's still pretty good. The movement and the more interesting, like, aiming for the legs in Neon made it very solid. Whereas Devil May Cry and Metroid 2 were like huge surprises, Second Son, replaying it, was kind of a bit of a disappointment. I mean, that said, it's still up here. It's good. It's very good. I like it a lot. A Link to the Past. Another of the all-time greats, really. If Super Metroid isn't the first game I played that I can remember playing early, it's because this is. The music in this game is so good. I love how much there is. With games, contemporary games to this, and earlier games, you would finish the Light World, fight Aghanim, and unlock the rest of the game, and you would be now in the latter 50%, maybe less. In this game, you just crack the shell open, and you're in the latter like 70% of the game. There's 14 dungeons. That's ridiculous. The items are fun. And I love of course this is a Zelda staple now, but I love the way they get used in the overworld to access new areas and pieces of heart. Yeah, it's got a lot going for it aesthetically, and highly influential in a very notable way. I'm gonna put it right. I think I put it right here. Did I put it right here? Let me check. Yeah, right there. Bottom of S minus. It's very good. I remembered this is also the first time I beat it, which I said in the recordings. I'd only made it to Ice Palace on my previous part of this playthrough. Yeah, it's super neat. Good game. Sorry, I'm looking to see so I don't have to check the tier list again. Devil May Cry 2. This game was also a surprise. The camera is bad. It is more often detrimental than not. The auto lock-on thing where Dante and Lucia automatically attack towards an enemy if there's an enemy. Dumb, awful, it comes close to ruining the game. Because it gets completely in the way of trying to continue your combo for your style points by intentionally attacking specific enemies. It gets in the way of that heavily. The AI is brain dead. Sometimes enemies will stop attacking for up to 5 seconds, which is just crazy. There's that one level at the beginning of a mission where you're inside a spinning hollow sphere and a bunch of orbs you have to hit, and they a wheel spoke shaped obstacle are also moving, but not in a way that is related to the spinning of the sphere, and your fixed camera is too far away to tell how close you are to each of the spheres you have to hit. Truly one of the dumbest levels I've seen in a game like this. It was bad. Dante himself is boring in this game. Not the gameplay wise. He's just a boring guy. He's try hard cool, but not in a fun way. And there's only one weapon moveset for each character. You don't even get 2, at least, like you did in DMC 1. But even with all that negative said, the moveset for both characters is very good. Interesting. There's a lot you can do. A ton you can do. And the movement and figuring out tricks with the movement felt amazing. Crazy good. And just on those 2 merits, even with all that negative I had to say, I think the game is an A minus. It's super solid. A minus. It's not a super solid game. It's like when I talked about Sonic Adventure 2 Battle being high highs and low lows. This game is a high that's happening in the middle of many, many low lows. Yeah, I think that's right. I think it's flawed enough I would put it below X-Men Legends. But it's still a very fun game to play. Borderlands. also strangely the first Borderlands game I've fully completed in my eyes, because I've never done all of the DLCs in a Borderlands game before this. The looter-shooter formula is just amazing. It's pog rich. Playing this game feels good. You find new guns, you aim at an enemy, you shoot them in the crit spot, and they explode. You see damage numbers go up to like 22,000 and whatever. It's just an unbeatable experience. Usually I try not to do this when considering stuff like this, but it suffers from comparison to every later game heavily. It tries less hard to be funny than the later games do, which is ironically a negative, considering that is a criticism of Borderlands generally. The guns are less varied and interesting on average. The characters are mostly extremely flat. The bosses are kind of nothing. And something I realized was that it mentions the cyberpunk corpo dystopia-ness of the setting, but just sort of ignores that in favor of all the Mad Max aesthetic. Basically, I think the game is fun, but noticeably less capital F fun than later games, if you know what I mean. It's not like fun like, well, I had fun watching that movie, but it was good. It was good, but I didn't have fun. Which is... That analogy's failed. I had a lot of fun playing the game. It's just... Compared to all the later Borderlands games, it's like sauceless and toothless in almost every way. That said, it's an A+. It's above Ultimate Alliance. I just love the gameplay that much. And finally, Kingdom Hearts Re-Chain of Memories. I only noticed recently, like making episode 3 or 4's thumbnail, that I was using the regular Chain of Memories logo. Whoops. I always forget how much I love the plot of Re-Chain of Memories. The absolute mindfuck of the identity of the self and its ties to memory, and the way that Sora is being so wholly toyed with and manipulated, and the fact that they really do call attention to like the horror in that. Naminé doesn't get expanded on it a lot in this game. The second Kingdom Hearts 2 makes it make a lot more sense why she feels like the want to be wanted, and why she feels like less of a person or whatever. But the organization intrigue, Axel playing on both sides all the time, Riku Replica as a character, and Riku himself in Reverse Rebirth's like struggle with darkness and all that. It's quite good. The gameplay though it's a really neat blend of real-time action and like strategy stuff with deck building. The game requires a lot of focus to play, I want to say. Because not only do you have to be positioning yourself and to attack them physically and then dodge all their attacks, but you have to be paying attention to the card numbers and when you play them. The consideration of rooms while building the map is a lot cooler than I remember it being. Not as hard as I remember it being. Reverse Rebirth is neat because of how significantly different a game mode it is in the underlying same system. Like, it's a neat thing to offer that way. With the duels and the dark mode. And the fixed decks. Really, like, I remember, it's sort of like Kingdom Hearts 1. I remember it being, like, a too hard kind of bad spin-off that has good bits. But now, replaying it, I just think it's good almost the entire way through. My only criticism is, like, really early on, bosses like Trickmaster and Ursula are kind of... Especially Trickmaster. You're not probably set up enough to have a good deck, and if you play a little bad, you can be stuck in an 18-minute boss fight. Besides that, the game was just really solid. Enough that I would put it at the bottom of S-Max. Which, that's a huge surprise to me, that I would end up putting Retained Memories above Borderlands and Ultimate Alliance. But, great game. Very good. And there's all that. And I'll just transition to this. We're reaching the point of absurdity. Where this is going to... I'm only 20% of the way in, and this is going to stop being, like, parsable, like human eyes. That said, those weren't all the games I played. Because between Dark Souls 1 and 2, I played Street Fighter V's Combo Trials. I love them. This is probably my most played fighting game by playtime. And over half of that playtime, I think, comes from just doing the Combo Trials. Truly, incredible experience for me. And the modded Combo Trials are super tough, but the process of learning system and character tricks to actually do them, not only was it, like, incredibly satisfying, but it also, I think, made me better at execution forever. And learning combos fast, and systems fast. Sorry, I'm looking where I put this. And when I put this on the tier list, remember that it's the Combo Trials, not the game. Although I do have a lot of love for this game. The experience of doing the Combo Trials goes all the way up here, above Kingdom Hearts, for me. It's very important in my tenure as a fighting game player. I guess I could also talk about where other filler games ended up relative to my new additions, like F-Zero GX being above A Link to the Past, or Infamous 2 Festival of Blood being between Luigi's Mansion and BB Tag. Yeah. I think I do like F-Zero GX more than A Link to the Past and Infamous and Festival of Blood, less than Luigi's Mansion. Were there any others? Oh, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. And Street Fighter 6, of course, but that didn't... Well, yeah, I put Second Son beneath Street Fighter 6's Combo Trials. That is purely on the negative of it that I talked about, I think. I think this deserves to be up here, though. for its personal importance to me. And the mod Comma Trials expanded that a lot. And then we have Super Mario Sunshine. The game's good. It's very solid. Most of the levels aren't actually that egregious, it turns out. The Sandbird, maybe, I guess. It's got incredible aesthetics, very good music. The underwater controls were awful. And sometimes just like the sliding down stuff. Sometimes it's a little finicky. Just a little. But most of the time it's just very good. I think that it goes right here. I think I did like it more than Festival of Blood. Not as much as Luigi's Mansion. That seems right to me. Yeah, there's that. Even more unreadable than before, because it's taller. And it will only get taller. But that's not all. Stats. So, 7 of my 48 quote-unquote favorite games have been played so far. This session added, this chunk, this 10% added Metroid Prime, Dark Souls, Dark Souls 2. Am I dumb? And Ultimate Alliance, of course. And now, as of this, I started 18 of the 38 game series on the list, because I started Kingdom Hearts, Metroid, and Spider-Man. Oh yeah, I wanted to call out good soundtracks. Dark Souls 1 and 2 have, you know, little music, relatively. They have different boss themes. And like 2 or 3 areas have music. But the music's incredible, where it is. Ash Lake and Shrine of Amana and Burnt Ivory King are moments made not only by the spectacle of walking into the area, but also the music hitting, where it doesn't normally. For those first 2, Burnt Ivory King, it's a whole other thing. Street Fighter V's music is amazing. I love nearly every character theme in that game, except for Churi's. Going to ask Pro Skater 2 and 3, of course, I'd be remiss not to mention their soundtracks. Del the Funky Homo Sapien. Kingdom Hearts is Shimamoto working your magic. I already popped off about Super Metroid and especially Metroid Prime's music, but Metroid 2's music also should go there. It's extremely esoteric. It's weird as hell. Right? Very strange, but it adds to the vibe in an incredible way. And it wouldn't be the same without it if it had like more traditional music. Death stats. So this is just for these 21 games that I played. 23 games. 22. This doesn't count SF5. I had 330 deaths to enemies, 155 deaths to bosses, 43 deaths to obstacles, 93 to falling, a single self-inflicted death, which I believe was in Borderlands. Took that long. And 23 mission failures or similar. Didn't play a fighting game against CPUs. So there were only 645 deaths in this chunk, compared to 1,016 in the first. Total so far, there you go. 585 deaths to enemies and 442 to bosses, with a total of 1664. Something interesting to note compared to the first chunk is that the first chunk had more boss deaths than enemies. And this has more than twice as many enemy deaths than bosses. And for that, I think we can entirely blame the Castlevania games. Providing all the boss deaths, all the enemy deaths here, because in this chunk, the Zelda games had the most deaths because Zelda 2 was the game with the most deaths. 220. Which is just a ridiculous number. I died 95 times in episode 2 of Zelda 2. Of course, the things I died the most to. Red Iron Knuckles, I died to like 47 times or something. The mouse, that is the little floating skulls that move in like a square wave pattern in Zelda 2. But also Alone Knights, I died to 8 times, which is more than most things, and Vexen, I died to 6 times total, which is more than most. That boss fight was a struggle for me until I unlocked Lethal Frame. These same kind of stats overall, though, no surprise. Castlevania is still the most for series, and the single episode of the first Castlevania game, still the episode with the most deaths. But Zelda 2 beat out Castlevania by a lot. Yeah. Here's the big tier list to point to at the end of the video. And that's it. I'm 20% of the way through games by number of games, not by time. Borderlands is the longest game I've played so far, and it is much shorter than some of the games on this list. Like Fallout 3 and 4 and Elden Ring and Tears of the Kingdom, God forbid, I say. Loving it. And I'm going to play it. But I think I rated them on higher on average by a notable amount in this chunk too. Introduced a lot of S's here. As of recording this, I've already beat Rondo of Blood and started Jak and Daxter and Unreal Tournament. And I think that chunk, the third chunk, ends with Fallout New Vegas, my favorite game of all time. So, yeah, I'm having a lot of fun doing this. Once I get into the swing of it. Turns out I can yap pretty easily. But that's it for now. I will see y'all next time.